Hey, everybody. Welcome to Spill the Immunity. I'm your host, Bree, along with my fabulous co-hosts, Brandon and Alex. Welcome to the show. And Brandon, we have a special guest. Why don't you introduce him?
We do. The special of guests. Dave and I met on an online reality game back at the start of COVID when the only thing Survivor fans had to do was pretend that we were very important people on a you don't win anything game with a bunch of strangers and vote each other off. And David won. I know that the internet right now is thrilled about this, and they're like, "Wow, an internet gamer on our show. How'd you guys do it?" So David is from Ohio, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, true enough.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's geeking out that the winner of COVID All Stars is finally gracing your show.
Yeah. So thank you for being. I can't believe that you've just cleared this whole entire time slot for us. So thank you.
My goodness, I had to shift around a lot.
I understand. Thank you for being with us. Bree, I'm going to turn it back to you because there is a lot to talk about in this episode.
Oh my gosh, there certainly is. It was okay. Can I just say my favorite challenge I might have ever seen on this show, just for the sheer entertainment purposes. Brandon and I talked a little before while we were waiting for the rest of the crew because we just got here early. And it was if you fast forward through challenges because you just want to see who won and you didn't take the time to watch it, please go back and watch it. I got to go over to Alex. Alex, what did you think about the challenge this time?
Wait, can you remind me of the challenge?
Oh, man.
Oh, we might have to take him off.
I think my connection's bad too.
No, you're good. So we had to hold the buckets up this time.
What was the challenge?
Split into two teams.
I'll tell you.
It was insane. Brandon, tell us about it.
Yeah. So first, speaking of back.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I just need a refresher. I got it.
Yeah.
Speaking. Great challenge, David. Wow, David. And my connection's really laggy here. Am I okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you'll get. Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
you're good.
Okay.
But speaking of bad connections,
thank you. Well, there was two. Wasn't there? I guess there's one. Okay.
Maybe
go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead. I need to fix my connection. One moment. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll see you later. So speaking of bad connections, Cedric lasted 12 seconds in this challenge where we had two guys break records in the challenge of holding your body weight or some kind of percentage of your body weight when you're at the very beginning of the show, holding it like a motorcycle for as long as you possibly can, and you could twist the lever to bring it back up. And there was plenty of that drama going on with Mitch, and Joe did it, and all the while you got David, who's just stretching out, showing us every bicep and pec, because it's been 15 seconds on Survivor season 48, so we need to see his bicep. And it was quite the challenge. But Bree, I think your favorite part wasn't even the actual challenge itself.
No, listen, this challenge was all about entertainment. It was about everybody that was sitting on the bench. We got so much from this. I don't even know where to start on who was my favorite. But before we get to the bench, I need everyone here to give it up for Ava, who was really a badass in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. David, what did you think?
Yeah, before the challenge even started, my wife and I were both like, I don't think this is gonna benefit the big boys. I think holding their body weight, grip strength doesn't necessarily mean isn't the same as physical strength. I had Eva to win it all, honestly. And, obviously I had that partially right, but I had the big boys things totally wrong because obviously the final three was all the people that look like the physically most intimidating.
As Daryl said, The Rock versus Captain America, which they said over and over again, or it so seems. And I would say Ava, it makes sense. She's a hockey player. So, you got to be gripping the hockey stick. I'm not a hockey player, but I'm guessing you are one with the hockey stick. throughout that whole entire time. So it makes sense that not only is she strong, but the grip strength she had, my guess is hockey players got that.
What do you think, Alex? Or is he still fixing stuff? I don't want to get on him too much about it. I know he's a little laggy. He's in Kuala Lumpur. He's getting ready for the next season that he'll be on. So that's the thing.
Well, I'm shutting down my VPN. I'm doing all these things to like try to improve my connection, shutting down all my different windows. Okay, so my excuse for like forgetting the challenge was I'm watching Australian Survivor, which is happening at the same time as American Survivor. So I'm like, okay, which the buckets, because they were doing okay.
Well, and
challenge was really good. I guess milk is the secret, grip strength. I said before the challenge, I said I think those two guys are going to win because it's a lot like gripping a weight, right? And those guys both connected on we drink milk and we go to the gym. So I was like, okay, I think these guys, and they kind of previewed it before with David, stretching out.
Gallon handle on milk, yeah, that you have to.
There you go,
too,
right?
Yeah, I was surprised to see. Listen, I done rock climbing. I've been around it a lot. Grip strength is a whole nother beast. It is something that you definitely have to practice and work on. It doesn't just happen. And so I was actually shocked that it was Joe and David at the end, to like you said, David, two big guys, right? Two big guys holding probably more weight than anyone else. You really, and they did it with one hand a lot of times. They're like, I'm going to do it with my right hand, let my left hand rest. We're just going to sit here, stretch, do all the things, right? Bring the gun show, and then go to the other. I was so impressed because that strength is really, really hard. You have to actually do specific exercises on your hand. So there is like, and I've had it at my house, so I know you can take a weight on a rope, right? And you put it, and then you bring it up, and then you let it back down, and then you bring it up, and then you let it back. That is actually something that rock climbers will do as part of grip strength training. So I was shocked literally shocked that they made it as long as they did. That was mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think anybody should try to do that exact exercise you're talking about. Put like, 20-pound weight on there, 10-pound weight, whatever you want to do, and see how long you can last. Maybe
more than 12 seconds.
I think I could beat Cedric, but that would probably be it.
Poor Cedric. We'll get into Cedric's life here in a second. But Shaheen, who should receive some award for almost nailing it. If they were playing Guitar Hero or Rock Band and he had the mic and he had to match verbatim with the Survivor theme song, 100% trophies. Fantastic stuff by Shaheen.
That was my favorite part. I loved it. Great. I loved when Shaheen was doing the best, and Jeff played right along with everything. A little kudos, but Shaheen was spot on. I want to know how long he actually did that for.
Yeah, how much of that was repeated? Shout out to the editors for making that moment a reality too. Wow, that was great.
Yeah, that was very good. I kind of want to. Can we? Oh, train! You guys keep on talking.
I love that we get this random train in the middle of it. So here's my question. Here's my question to Alex, because Alex likes to bring us the accents. We had the ooper accent. I want to know, are you ready to compete against Shaheen in the waka waka?
Shaheen copied it. I mean, we were doing this way before Shaheen was doing his, what would we always say? Booga. We'd always do the booga here,
Yeah.
I didn't hear no boogas in there. I just heard some. What was his? He was doing like the
waka waka. That's what he was doing. The waka waka.
He was doing the waka waka. We need some boogas. Where the boogas at?
I thought it was great. I mean,
he did okay. I'll give him
because they played it, and like you said, David, the editors were right there with it. They were like, we're going to bring that along. But Shaheen wasn't the only one to bring a little fun and playfulness to the bench. Did anyone catch Say's little underhanded comment during that?
It just seems like Every
had a
time
lot.
Yeah, which one? Yeah.
has it under. Which one are you referring to on this one?
Well, she's like, he's slipping or whatever, or maybe not. You know, like she's just like always got a little tiny, like she'll say she's always got to throw a little something extra in there that's a little bit of a dig, and she wonders why she got voted out, right? She throws these little digs in, and they're very subtle a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But
She had something on her mind, so she said it. Like that's who say
it
is,
just comes out.
and it just happened. So yeah.
Charlie did a great job. I think.
Good.
So Charlie did great in this challenge in 46. Yeah, he did. I know. Alex likes Charlie.
Yeah.
He was like,
No, I'm just laughing at kind of the cadence of this today. We're kind of like, there's kind of, interesting podcast flow here today.
Yeah.
There's so much to this. All right. Well, then let's move on to Kyle getting Jeff to let him be part of the get off the couch and apply. Another Jeff. Maybe it was Jeff bringing us through a lot of this too. What do we think about Jeff's performance during this challenge?
How many torches does Jeff get? Yeah,
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think Jeff is getting more playful. He's becoming more fatherly as he gets older, right? He's definitely more receptive and less kind of rigid in his announcing, and really likes the here we go. Oh, interesting place
that unfortunate third torch.
Yes.
That unfortunate third torch is in a bad place.
Yeah, Jeff's all just about having fun. He's showing, Jeff used to be so rigid, and so it was just by the book by Jeff. Unless he was going on the jet ski, going across the, that. You remember that, David? Wasn't that the best Jeff? What's your favorite Jeff moment, David? As a new guest here, favorite Jeff?
Oh my God, my favorite Jeff moment. That's an intense question. Wow.
Has to be the jet ski. You know what I'm talking about with the jet ski?
Yeah, I mean, you have that in my mind now where they have where he's going from one thing to the other, and he's
like in Fiji, and he jet skis all the way to New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and they're trying to make it seem like it took him like as long as it was from the end of filming to the live finale to even get there. Oh yeah.
Right. Chet, if you could tell us what Survivor season that was, I believe it was like one of the first 6. That Jeff did that whole entire go through the streets of New York, bringing it to the studio, that kind of bit.
That was the best.
Yeah, we'll get the chat. The chat is on fire today too, which has definitely got me distracted because I'm trying to read everything and put all of this stuff.
Yeah, that was funny. Mitch muttering defeatedly under his breath, "I'm playing Survivor against superheroes." That was really funny.
It's true. And the Milk Brothers are so strong. They are. I actually think that if we want to get into the actual gameplay of all of this,
yes.
I think David did himself a disservice with his just like when he did the like I'm just fine, and he was just like I can do whatever I want right now. I think that how does that if you were sitting on the bench and you saw him act that way, how would that affect your opinion and your willingness to play with him when he starts to show off? Doesn't matter, David?
Oh, no. I'm saying cut him. No. Like obviously strength is so much part of his game, but like the way he even seemed to dominantly win against Joe, like he didn't seem that close to falling. And, even if I was Joe and he comes over and it's like, it's good sportsmanship, but he's like, you did amazing. You did so great. If I was Joe, I'd be like, like it almost might feel a little condescending of like, but you did so much better. You were not hurting. And, while David has kind of repeatedly saying that he wants to go to the end with like, these strong, deserving people, like, to me, that could, as a player, that could rub me the wrong way. I don't think he's saying that like in front of everyone, but like, how is David necessarily shown he's deserving outside of strength? And I think a lot of people might, feel that way and want to have more of a chance at immunity challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's this whole season, I think, is different from any other season we've seen in quite some time. First, you got the whole entire fact. I mean, Alex, I understand how you're getting Australia and U.S. Survivor mixed up right now because there's a lot of strong players, and the strong person alliance is actually doing something pretty well. And the only reason why the Kyle and Camilla routine of just baiting Shaheen only ended up at a baiting of Shaheen and not an actual elimination of Shaheen is because David wants to uphold the strong guy alliance, and Kyle and Camilla know that. More importantly, Kyle knows that because he's almost in that strong person alliance, right? So David does have, for a strong player, something that, big old strong John did not have 3 or 4 seasons ago. And that is a possibility to take a strong man's alliance pretty far in this game if the Mitches, which he's a strong, physical, great challenge player, but he's part of that Mitch, Camilla, Chrissy group. So as long as those players don't think about linking up and taking out the muscle, Muscle could be fine, with the caveat of Kyle and Camilla, I think, are going to somehow dismantle both groups and take this all the way.
Yeah, Camilla and Kyle are still a big threat. They're definitely under the radar. They're definitely getting things moving forward. They weren't successful with Shaheen, but I think it's more planting the seeds, like you said. It's just getting the beginnings that would make, because you're going to have to cut people anyway. You got to just figure out timing on things. I think you keep Shaheen a little longer, but you do plant those seeds. But, you planted them with David. How long do you want to take David? Who is the best one to get rid of first? And how do you maneuver that? Because you like those big shields. David is definitely putting a target on his back by acting the way he does and making it look so easy. Like with Joe, you could see he was fighting for it and was it wasn't for him. And David's like, I'm just might do my nails later. I don't know. I got stuff, like for him, it was no big deal. And so that's dangerous. When you have individual immunities, you have to, he could literally go through to the end, especially when he does something so well in what is normally the big guys don't do well thing, right? Grip strength's going to come back into play if they're hanging on a pole.
I was going to say, Spencer Bledsoe from seasons ago said, if you're going to work out, get your grip strength up, and then pull-ups are the number one thing you do when it comes to any kind of workout routine. First, it's upper body, but also it works that grip strength as well. So I think once a muscle falls away, I think all the muscle goes with it. Like, I don't think that I think this season is going to be one of those where they just all slide off at the same time. David, I think he can keep for a little bit longer because I don't think he's really has a super alliance with anybody right now, unlike the Joe and the Ava. And I'd even put Star in a better place when it comes to alliances than David right now. And I think it was David that said right now he's just got the strength game, or Alex said he's got the strength game. So he has to show something else to win this game other than the fact that he's just a beast when it comes to his strength. How about you guys? What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, you don't see a lot. This was one of the strength-focused challenges in American Survivor. You watch Australian Survivor, it's like much more strength-based. American Survivor, it's like much more dexterity, and even the final challenges now, they used to, I love the challenges where they hold on to something. And they still do that in Australian Survivor, though. It's an endurance challenge, and you hold on to something, and it's the last person, and they go till sunset, and, this crazy, endurance. In America, it's not really like that. So I don't think the strength has that much to do with American Survivor as much. I don't think it's going to serve David and a lot of other, it's a lot of like, I always make fun of the American Survivor, challenges, David. I'm always like, they have to like hop over a barrel and then hail a bucket of water and then do
drag a stuffed lizard across.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not super strength based. And then at the end, in Australian Survivor, you have 2 people at the end. So that really changes the dynamic, especially when you're going to an endurance challenge. American Survivor has 3 at the end, and it's more of a coordination challenge, like the plinko, the ball is falling down. You have to do the puzzle, then get the ball. And it's like kind of the speed, concentration puzzle, kind of, a little bit more happening there. So I don't think that's why David is maybe as much of a threat. I don't know if there's going to be a ton of strength challenges in the future. And he's not a super well-rounded that. He's not like a puzzle beast, or on Australia, they say a challenge enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a challenge enthusiast, as they would say. So I don't think him being this big, strong guy is as much of a threat, but they do have the strong guy alliance. And I think what Camilla and Kyle are doing is they're planting those seeds, and they can play off of those guys' ego and the desire to be, upright. And, so they could say, well, he says that he's telling the truth and he wants to play this moral game, but Joe, he wants you out, and he's talking, and you kind of see that in the next thing, that Kyle's falling apart. Right. And you can kind of use that, what do you call it? Their morals, right, against them and put them in between. And then what happens then? Well, they kind of flounder and they don't know what to do, and they're flailing about. And then it's easy to isolate that person. Instead of somebody like Camilla and Kyle, they're more flexible, right? Mm-hmm. And they can kind of plant the seeds, and they're not so they don't drive their feet into the sand and say, well, this is my line and I'll never cross it. Well, if you cross that line, you don't really have much place to go, right? You don't have much flexibility.
Mm-hmm. I want to get to where Daryl is talking about, but David, what's your spin on all this?
I mean, I actually think it's a really interesting point to bring up that like David might not necessarily bulldoze his way through challenges like people talk, because I think that's correct in US Survivor, that's the case. But I feel like the perception is there from players of like, there is always a period of time where people start talking about getting out the strongest people. So even if David isn't someone that can bulldoze the rest of the challenges, the perception might be there that he will. I don't think David's making it too much further, despite his insistence on keeping the strong together.
Well, I have to agree with you on that, because we talk about David, and he does have great strength and great capabilities when it comes to some challenges. But does he have situation awareness? Is he playing the game? Does he have strategy more than we're just going to be upstanding guys and be the big guys? But beyond that, where does that go? I'm not seeing that from him, where we are seeing it from Camilla and Kyle, where he's like, Kyle's like, I have to go back to when Shaheen went through my bag. Like, that's a telling thing about somebody. I know he did that. I will not form that trust with him because of that. So I need to eventually get rid of him. I can't trust him. I don't see David really getting too deep into these, strategies. He just is a big, strong guy.
I think three-dimensional players do the best. And right now, David has kind of shown one dimension very well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think three-dimensional players are the ones that really thrive in the game deep.
I was proud of him for kind of scoping out Charity and finding out that she's actually like trying to use me as a pet project and stuff like that. So he has glimpses of being able to do this. It sounds like in this next episode, if I'm supposed to just guess from the preview that they have, is Camilla's mad at David for some, or David for something, and I'm guessing it's because he told somebody that, hey, like, Camilla just got done sussing out Shaheen for maybe or maybe not having an idol of some sort. So my guess is that is kind of what happens this next episode with that. So the question is, did David use that as a way of, or a form of strategy, telling people, or is he just saying things to people because he's just saying things to people? So one is a strategy and one is just, saying things, right? Daryl goes on. People think Camilla is winning, but the edit hasn't shown her relationships with other people besides Kyle. So I don't think she is winning. Shaheen has been the narrator, and we know his relationships. Yes, both true. I do think Shaheen, this was a great episode for him, even though they kind of threw him under the bus on this one. I think they did so in a way that he has enough risk value to him now to where they're only considering him, and they're not, now that he's not hiding anywhere, it's almost better because sometimes in the game, I think players just like, hey, so who's hiding right now? Like, who's not going to go out of this game? And Shaheen, I think, has elevated enough of a risk to not be in that category either, to where you clean up the bottom of the barrel. So he is in a great middle spot right now because of what Kyle and Camilla came up with. So
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. One, you see Jonathan. Jonathan was a super strong guy, did dominate the majority of the challenges, right? Jonathan ended up getting voted off, right? Because he was kind of a challenge beast, so to say. With Camilla, I think you are seeing her as like, her entire game is playing like low key, like totally under the radar, but in control, masterminding puppetry. Like, but if she goes to the end with Kyle, Kyle's much more front facing. Is she going to be able to win, or is she going to have to cut Kyle early? Shaheen's going to have a hard time. I think, Thomas getting voted off and Bianca getting voted off, I don't know if it helped Shaheen, but it made him more flexible in his alliances. And so he can go a lot more different directions. His game is much more flexible. He's kind of in the middle of a lot of different things. So that might have worked out well for him. But it's going to be hard when you have like these powerful twos like, Kyle and, Camilla and Eva and Joe. But we'll see. Maybe Joe isn't going to rely on Eva as much. Maybe he's going to rely on people like Shaheen a little bit more, because can you rely on Eva? Like, she's a vote, but can, like, from a strategic sense and a game sense, right? I don't know if Joe's going to like trust her with his whole game, right? So maybe he'll rely more on Shaheen. But I did like that Joe brought in, can you take the comment down? I got to look at the name. What's his name? Mitch. John or Joe is like kind of trying to bring Mitch in a little bit more. And I think that's a good thing. Joe needs to start getting those peripheral people, because he seems really strong, seems really connected, but he's really not. He could very easily be voted off as a strong person. Right.
I like this comment right here. If you notice, the people in the Loyalty Alliance are getting big positive edits, like Joe, Eva, Shaheen, and David, whereas someone who is against it, like Chrissy, has gotten an invisible edit, which we've talked about a lot. Poor Chrissy. And then we've got, I think Chrissy goes next episode because she is after Joe. I don't know if she goes next episode. I'm like all over the place with who goes next, and it's a little too early to talk about that this morning, but I do think Chrissy has gotten that invisible edit. And I know that a lot of people put a lot of stuff into what's their edit, who's looking like they're going to, like, I kind of feel like I don't always rely on that, because the editors will be like, well, you think you know us, but we're going to flip the script on you. We could, like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know what their strategy is to show us different things. How do we know? Sometimes it's somebody that doesn't get a lot in the beginning and picks up steam as they're rolling through the season. And all of a sudden they're becoming a front runner, and we're seeing a lot more of them. So I don't know. I don't see Chrissy.
The Gabler edit.
Yeah, exactly. So how much do you guys like rely on edit, like what they're showing us as an indication of who's going to win?
Well, I think editors.
Go
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think the editors are becoming more aware of the winner edit and are getting better at not giving people a purple edit. That we are getting a bit more well-rounded, where we kind of know, like, obviously Chrissy we haven't seen as much, but we've seen more about her than we have in some people in previous seasons. So I'm not reading into that too much yet. I noticed, like, Shaheen, he mentioned, has been kind of the narrator of the season, but Shaheen has just great confessional. He's very funny. So I think editors are able to use that, because, like, these are really good confessionals rather than this person's winning. So I'm not tracking that too much right now as being like a giveaway or an indicator.
Yeah, look at Carolyn's season. I mean, Carolyn got so much time, didn't get a single vote at the end. I was hoping she was going to win, right? But I think you're right about that, David. It's like, who's funny, who's engaging, that they're trying to make good TV. They're not going to put Camilla on TV that much. I mean, she's just not that animated. And I mean, a little bit, I don't know. Or like Star, right? I mean, I don't think Star's going to win the game. I think Star's actually very funny and likable. Maybe a little bit too nice. But yeah, Shaheen, he's a really interesting guy. His beard is so black; it's like a black hole. You look into it and like plays with the camera. It's so dark. It's got a great. I think it's the beard edit. They're just giving him because he's got a great beard. They want to.
Well, and that's why I shaved mine off because I don't want to try anymore to have a good beard. That's the one.
And I'm like, compare this beard to Shaheen's. It's like it's a different. It's literally a different animal. It might be an animal.
Might be an animal.
It is a thick beard. It is a thick beard. Going back to Christy for a little bit, since the beard can't win Survivor. I wrote down while I was watching Tribal, and I know there's plenty of things to talk about before Tribal, but I wrote down Chrissy talking too much about the death of loyalty. And she even had to kind of correct herself a little bit more, right? Because she had to say, not right now. I'm going to stay honest right now, but there'll come a point in time where you have to lie. And then I wrote down, thank you, Chrissy, at the end of that. So her stock just keeps on bouncing for me because I wrote, thank you, Chrissy, because somebody needed to say out loud, like, we have to start lying. We have to start playing this game that we all came to enjoy. And it looks like this coming episode is going to be the start of some crazy, you pent up aggression and deception too long, it's going to fly. So I'm very excited about this next season or this next episode to see what happens.
Yeah, Say was obviously getting a roam at it. I think I don't know if we've seen a narrator get that far, that do that much in a game or win a game. Kind of playing that narrator. Rome played it a little bit. Who else was what was his name?
Oh, the long-haired dread guy.
Yeah, Devin? No.
I'm not going to get it.
I'm not going to get it either. See, this is why we're such superstars at Survivor. We can't remember anything.
The guy in the new era that basically spoke. Tevin.
Tevin. I was close with Devin. Come on now.
Yeah, that's close.
Tevin. Yeah, so he,
Tevin.
But he didn't make it all the way either. So I don't know if I can bank on Shaheen getting that far into this game. I think he's going to stick around for a while, but I don't know. But he definitely.
I think they see him as a threat, right? David sees him as a threat. Will they get him off or not because they want to go all together with the strong? But I don't know. I think he's too obvious of a threat where people like Mitch and Star and Mary, right, team up with Camilla. I mean, look at that alliance right there. Camilla, Kyle, Mary, Mitch, and Star. I mean, and then you bring in Chrissy. I mean, all the strong people are out. And then you bring in, and then you do this, and then you move it over here. No, I'm sure.
Well, and that's why you mentioned it. You got Camilla who could head up. Hold on, here this side. You got Camilla who could head up this strong, smart player, kind of playing it low, sneaky game, and then you have Kyle who could basically he's considered part of the strongman's alliance. You got them in the middle working together to take everybody else off of. That's why they're so scared of David right now, because he's about to blow up their game, it seems like. But I think they're both smart enough to get away from that. When you have Shaheen, who's kind of in the middle of all of that. And the difference between a Shaheen narration right now and a Say narration was that I don't think Shaheen's really been proactively pursuing a move offensively. He's always kind of been on the defense about this, besides the California Girl Alliance. So I think that sets them apart. But with Say and Rome, that's just proof, I think, of you playing the game so strong and so fast at the beginning. I don't think there's ever been a Survivor in the history of the new era, at least, that's played day one and then went. And I'm glad they played that way, because they probably have no regrets. They probably did everything they're supposed to do except win. And that's always going to be the case for those people that start off way too strong.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that I noticed during this episode was Shaheen said, they're all coming to me, Mitch and who else was coming? The three outsiders were coming to him. It was Cedric, Mitch. He had people that were just like peripheral that were coming to him and like trying to work with him and trying to connect with him. And I think that says a lot about Shaheen's position and how he's perceived. Maybe not how we perceive him, but that doesn't matter how we perceive him. It's how they perceive him. And so if all of them are like trying to get in and going to Shaheen for that, like, what does that say about Shaheen's game?
Mm-hmm.
Alex.
we do got to remember though, Shaheen was so easily tricked by Kyle and Camilla.
Yes, he was.
He was so. I mean, he's not that. I'm not gonna say he's not a bright guy, but I mean, in this game, he's very easily tricked. And what has I understand people like Shaheen, but what has Shaheen done, or what will he do? I mean, being in the middle doesn't win you the game of Survivor. He's the in between because he's kind of a big guy, so he's kind of an in between the Joe and the David, and he's a little bit. He's California, so he's kind of with like the misfits too a little bit. So he's just that bridge, that kind of friendly face. But does having a great beard win you the game of Survivor? What has he actually done? He was his tribe. Thomas, his number one, got voted off, and Bianca, who he was also got voted off too. So I don't know. I'm not big on the Shaheen is gonna win it at it. I think he's just really likable, and I think if he goes to the end, he's very I think he's very, I don't know about articulate, but he's funny guy, likable guy. Has done nothing yet. The beard is that, yeah. So, I think, if he goes up against like a Star and a Mary or a Mitch, yeah, he's gonna win, right?
But I think there's going to be a reason Shaheen wins. I think he knows that there's 11 players, 10 players still left to play this game. And so you're right, Alex, in the fact that he hasn't done much yet, but I still think he's a type of player that will eventually strike at the right time. And this season, that's going to be huge. And
what do you think his move will be?
What's that?
What do you think his move will be?
I think he's going to somehow get, if you can get Kyle and Joe out, if you're the reason for getting Kyle and Joe out in this game, you win the game. I'm gonna call it right now. If you can somehow get those two gone, you win the game. Who is that going to be? I think the reason why Shaheen is seen as perceptively good, just like Thomas was. Thomas didn't have time but we thought he was a great player and he hadn't done anything yet. So I think just how they talk and the relationships they have built will be utilized at the right time.
David, what are your thoughts on this? And I've got to say, Chocolate's here. She's going to be like holding us to it. Just keep that in mind.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I definitely think Shaheen has shown that has social prowess and a strategic mind, even though he hasn't necessarily made the move yet. I do certainly see him as a player, and I think his best move right now is honestly just like staying back. There are bigger targets than him, and I think, especially with the foreshadowing of next episode, like having big targets go after is just kind of, everyone else should just love that, of like, okay, great. They're going to eat each other, and then we can reorganize the game once the dust settles. I was nervous for Shaheen this episode, though, because the editors love to kind of humble people, and they did have that moment in the middle where Shaheen was saying, like, all roads have to go through me, basically, of like, I don't see how anyone can make a move without needing me. And that immediately was like, oh, I'm worried for him. That's a really easy confessional to humble, and that was even before we knew Shaheen was in trouble. But that confessional alone made me feel like he was going to be in trouble. So, the fact that he survived and purely seemingly because of David's loyalty was interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to see him figure out the Kyle and Camilla alliance. Because he missed it so bad in the beginning, the redemption would be, I figured them out, and now I'm going to blow up their game and get rid of them. That would be a smart Shaheen thing if he could come to grips and understand that. I mean, I don't think it's beyond his ability to put it together that maybe Kyle knows, because he knows that Kyle knows he went through his bag, right? They're all aware of it. He's, so maybe, Shaheen starts to figure out there's some issues there that are unresolved, and Kyle doesn't trust me yet, and he'll try to get rid of me, and come to grips with they're maybe working. And I do think that Kyle and Camilla, even though they're kind of on the down low right now, I don't know how long they're going to stay that way. I think, we're going to start seeing that could get up. And if it does, they're definitely going to be the biggest targets on the field right now.
Well, and they have to watch out too, because the minute that they have to vote out Shaheen before they vote out Joe, because Shaheen will definitely pick up on the fact that, Camilla and Kyle casted a vote for Joe to get him out. Shaheen, I think he's the type of player to be like, wait, hold on, we had a strong 4. that we talked about. And they just took him out. So that means I can rally the troops against these guys and be like, hey, this is exactly what Kyle and Camilla have been doing all game. David, that time that they tried to suss me out, because I think David is going to blow up their game a little bit on this one. Kyle and Camilla, there is a process that needs to take place for them to win this game. So if they can perfect that process, awesome. That's how they do it. But yeah.
Well, it's going to be hard to convince, the Mary and the Mitch and the Star to go against David and Joe because they seem so dominant. They seem like they're in such control of this game. So even if Camilla and Kyle could say, hey, we have the numbers, we can switch against these guys. I think all of them are, Mary and Mitch and Star, they're so on the outs. Chrissy even, they're so on the outs. They're like, no, I want to be with David or with Joe to get the other strong person out near the end of the game. I'm going to be their extra number, right? Instead of trying just to upset it. So unless they can get one of the strong people out early and show that strong person's alliance isn't actually in control of the game, it's going to be hard to convince those people later on. And then they might be too dominant. So they do need to maybe it is putting David on the outs and saying, listen, this guy's, he's gone crazy. He's roid raging. We got to get this guy out.
Can I say, something I thought was interesting with this is with who went home. When we'd gotten to merge, we've seen a tradition or a pattern of hot mess tribes being able to go deep if they can survive.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly had that with like Tiffany, Q, and Kenzie. Their tribe was a hot mess. They kept on losing, but then those three were able to stay in there. Going back further, the Brain Tribe was such a hot mess, and you had Tasha and Spencer and Cass all go super deep. I was thinking that Cedric, Say, and Mary could go pretty deep and be the swing between the other two big tribes. And I thought it was really interesting how this didn't play out that way. That they really did just no, let's get away. Let's vote out the people that aren't as connected. Mm-hmm. And there hasn't been as much concern about who has the numbers between the two big OG tribes.
That is a huge point. I mean, when you were saying that, I watched something with that Wentworth was talking about on her Instagram. And I felt it too when you were saying this, the Cedric, Say, and Mary, that group, it built up to something that we should have seen. Mary turn on Say and vote her out and make it a big thing, and then all this other stuff. And they really just kind of, it evaporated, and then they just randomly voted out. Say it was just oh, let's just take Say out. She's annoying. We're just going to and it wasn't who has numbers at all. And are they, it's just hard to
say. They were just we don't want to be at Ponderosa with Say. I would seriously that's what they were saying. They're we got to think about who's on the jury, aka who do we got to spend time with when we're all voted out.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, because you're voting for the mayor of Ponderosa. You're not voting just off somebody to go to Ponderosa. This is the person that's going to basically start unveiling what Ponderosa is going to look like the rest of the season. And there's a staunch difference between a Say Ponderosa and a Cedric Ponderosa.
And she was bitter.
Sure.
She even had her exit interviews. She was a little bitter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I thought Say at the end, she was, you saw her, in original tribe, and she seemed like this loose cannon, and she was, I was expecting her to blow up a little bit more, or really make some gameplay or go look for the idol. She seemed very reserved, and she kind of just she's more ecumenical. She was trying to work with people, and how she approached Joe was hey, should we talk? She wasn't really going after people. I mean, it kind of seems like that fire kind of burned out, and she kind of, I don't know, gave up, but where was the idol searching? Where was all this hustle and all this drama and causing chaos and everything? I mean, she knew she was going home, and she barely did anything. It seemed like she just kind of accepted it.
100%.
Okay, go ahead and read this. I can't read it. Go ahead, Brie.
I like Cedric as a person, but his move in episode 3 made me want him to not win the game because of how bad the move was. What was the move in episode 3 that was so bad? It was Justin. It was Justin.
totally made these three never be able to do what those tribes that you talked about, David. That was such a cluster that you can rebound from that, especially when you say, hey, we're going to be all in, let's do this, and you have no way to prove that because it moves right into the merge.
No, I think you're right. If he decisively got rid of Say, that would just like Justin would be so indebted to him and trust him fully, rather than he flip-flopped and he broke trust with both people, and no matter who was going to say, wasn't going to fully trust him again.
Yeah. The roll of dice. The roll of the dice has been huge this season. 2-player Bianca and Justin going out because they lost their vote, and then I guess is it a die or is it just a you pick type thing? I forget. But the Mary thing. What's that thing called?
The Journey.
No, when Mary played safe.
Shot in the dark.
Yeah, shot in the dark. When Mary played her shot in the dark. Imagine if that had been not safe. What kind of season this could have been for Cedric, Mary, or Cedric, Justin, and Say. Completely. Yeah.
Well, I love that Say was like, I put my vote down in the beginning of the episode. I put my vote down for him. Then I told him it was Charity that did it. And because the handwriting was so different, she wrote in cursive. I'm surprised they could read it because there were some older people there that could, and Jeff could obviously read cursive, but the Gen Z don't really read cursive.
Young folk,
I'm gonna come at him a little bit, but I just thought it was really funny. She's like, I wrote in cursive, so they wouldn't know it was me.
Say's actually someone that I would really enjoy seeing play in like 10 years again. Because I feel like with just a little more maturity, like she actually had some interesting pieces, but I think she took the game too personally at different points, tried to do these little like revenge tactics and, but she has a strategic mind. And if she had a bit more maturity, I think she could actually do well in this game.
Yeah.
Once she's a bit older.
She's actually 29.
Is she?
Really?
I know. I thought she was young. She's 29 years old. That's interesting. You look very young, Say. You're very youthful. Okay, that's very. But I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, I think Cedric was like,
bless Cedric's heart, but he was the Charlie Brown of the season. Dude just was not a good look. Not a good look in any aspect.
He voted everybody
crying all the time, failing miserably at every challenge. Nobody wants to work with the guy. Bless his heart, honestly. Glad he's on the jury, but it's just kind of like.
Speaking of jury, we've got about 10 minutes left, and we have to end right on time today. But I do want to talk about this one point that I think is really interesting. How do we feel? And I'm going to go to each one of you guys. How do we feel about making the merge, but not like having so many people voted off before they actually make jury? Like, do we like that? I mean, like you get to merge, but then you're not merged, and then you got to vote someone off, and they don't make jury, and then you come back and you think, okay, are we making jury? But now you got to split into two, and another person's not making jury. What's your opinion of that, Alex? You're shaking your head already, so I'm going to go to you first.
Well, my opinion. I hate the 3 tribes. I want 2 tribes. I hate 3 tribes. Then they go to 2 tribes. Then no, they don't even go to 2 tribes. This season they had 3 tribes. They then mixed it up and went to 3 smaller tribes. That doesn't make any sense, okay? Because then you're like in this like final 4 dynamic, and you're like 4 episodes in. I don't know why they do it. I like the big tribes, okay? I like the big tribes, and then you can mix up 2 tribes. That's fine, okay? And then you go to 1 tribe, and once you make the merge, you're on the jury. That's what I say.
David, what do you think?
I like that rules.
I like that.
I like 3 tribes. Sometimes I like 2 tribes. I want them to mix it up season by season more. Is what I would like. It's been far too long that they've been doing 3 tribes all through the 40s. I do want 2 tribes, but I want some seasons where it's 3 tribes to start and then it switches to 2 tribes. I don't want it to be so formulaic that like people can kind of feel when the merge is coming. I want some merges to happen late, and I want some merges to happen early. I don't want the game formula to be as predictable as it's been in the 40s, is what I would like.
Brandon?
I want them to bring back the mutiny, baby. Bring back. That was great. 2 tribes, 3 tribes. I think we've done way too many 3 tribes. It's time to bring back a 2 tribe, and I say that because it's still working for Australian Survivor after all these years. So there's proof that it's still usable, and then bring it back to 3. That's cool. But the best thing that Survivor has done is this whole entire, you have a challenge to where someone has to, if you get voted off, you don't make jury, and if you serve, if you're the second tribe, you get to make jury. I think that it was so cool to watch 2 different tribes have to vote somebody out for 2 different reasons. One was, okay, this person's going to be a part of the jury. This one we don't want in the jury at all. So I love that aspect. I think we need to come up with a new word for merge or mergator or whatever, because it doesn't make any sense to me that you do have a tribe but you don't have any buffs on, but yet you're one tribe voting off one person. That doesn't make sense to me. I do think you need to earn merge. I agree with that. So if they can fix that piece where you merge and then you get the buff as well, I don't know. I think you earn the merge by not getting voted out the first 6 or first 7.
Right, you've already accomplished something. I think Daryl summed it up. You are merged, but you don't officially make the merge until after the first merge vote, and then you have to vote in separate groups. And when you are already merged, and it's so strange. I think they're pretty much just like how complicated it all sounds to all of us.
Yeah, it's essentially earning the merge buff is what it feels like.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much harder to influence a large group, and you actually have more strategy when you have to influence a large group. When you have this small group, you have 3 people and are like, oh, we're all from California. Here's our alliance. Okay, there was no strategy there. You influence 3 people, and now you're the majority in a tribe of 5. It's like,
yeah, putting 3 California people on the same tribe anyways of 6 is a bit ridiculous. I want to see 13 votes on the first day on 5 different people. That's how I want to see my Survivor.
Yeah.
So my biggest worry this week when I was getting ready, when I was watching, was we have a draft that we do before the season every year. We left Chrissy off because nobody picked her in the draft, but Brandon was coming into this week looking pretty good. Unfortunately, it looked like his team was about to get crushed as we went to the tribals, and I thought for sure he was going to be down 2 players because I was worried about Shaheen. But you only lost your first one, Brandon. But Brennan, unfortunately, he is down 3 players with Joe as his remaining player on that team. I'm looking good still with Mary, David, and Star, and Alex is doing okay with Camilla and Ava because they're such great players. I think they're going to have some longevity. But as we wrap things up this morning, I want to get into who do we think is going home on the next episode. I'm going to go with Brandon first.
I know you would. I think my guys are safe. I think Kyle, Shaheen, Mitch are all safe. I think Mitch has entered that portion of the show where he's going to be safe for a while. They're now marking out the threats, and I don't think he's there. I think in this next episode, the person that does go home, I'm going to say David goes home. I don't like the answer, but I'm going to say David goes home.
All right, Alex, who's your pick for this week? He's really thinking about it now.
I think I'm hoping David goes home. But I think it's going to be Mitch, honestly. I think it's going to be Mitch. I think he's still on the outs. I think they're going to just try to go with some easy votes. He is kind of a threat. They've kind of alluded to this. Oh, he's good at challenges, and he's so they always say his story. I'm not going to go into that, but his story. So it's I think it's going to be Mitch for a lot of reasons, but that's why.
David, what do you think?
I do think the strong alliance is going to fracture this episode, but when the dust settles, I think people are going to try and split up the strongest duo. I'm voting for Joe. I'm sad about it, but I'm saying Joe.
All right. Well, I don't want to forget about. I do think she's putting herself in a dangerous position by all her. I'm honest until I'm not honest. And when are we going to start lying? I think that kind of people went, oh, Chrissy, okay. So maybe that'll get her in some trouble. And I saw in the comments earlier she's coming after Joe a little bit. I might have enough to get Joe out. I think we will see someone big topple, but who that will be, I think if you're looking at who to take out of this strongman, I think that you would take Joe over David, because Joe, I mean, if I had Joe and David in the finale and I'm looking at the two of them, Joe's winning over David, because David doesn't have that. He's like, if I ever have kids someday, if I can stop living in a trailer in my dad's driveway. But Joe is like super dad and been there for, done all these things. I think
Firefighter.
so. I think Joe is I think he's in a more dangerous position. But I think it might be Kyle, actually. That's gonna be my pick. I think he's gonna get in trouble. I think he's gonna maybe say too much to like sway the vote to get rid of Shaheen or get rid of somebody, and it might come back to bite him. So I'm gonna say Kyle this week. Went out on a limb on that one. And then the last thing I'm gonna ask, and we do have to wrap it up. I think, and I want your opinion on this, I think we're getting close to an Applebee's meltdown, because Mitch hasn't eaten on a reward yet. Who's with me on the Applebee's meltdown for Mitch?
I had a bad situation with Applebee's in the last 2 weeks. That just sadness to my life. I don't think I'm going to say no to a Mitch Applebee's meltdown.
I think a Mitch Applebee's meltdown looks a lot different than a Liz Applebee's meltdown. I think he might melt down internally, but I don't think he's going to be quite as vocal.
Yeah, I agree.
Alex, what do you think?
I think Mitch he's got the kids. He's a coach. He coaches children. He's going to keep it together. I want to thank all of the commenters today. Very lively chat. This is awesome. Thank you, commenters. It makes it so fun.
Yeah. Daryl's in, Chocolate's in. We got a lot of new people hanging out. You guys have been crushing the comments. The chat has been amazing, and we thank you guys for that. A big thank you to David for coming and hanging out with us today. Appreciate having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yes. And the chat has been so good, and David, you've been so great being here with us, that I'm inviting all you guys to Club Condo once I figure out where
what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
I don't think it's. I don't know what it is.
What is a? I thought you guys would know.
We're going.
Okay. See y'all later.
Buddy. See you later.
Club Condo.